everyone, it's Carolyn, here to share another channeled message from the Light Keepers, a group of angelic beings I channel for your awakening and ascension journey support. And then I offer my take on it and my examples of the channel itself. So today I'm going to share 7 things to take into the new year of 2020, some of which you may be already working on, others that may be brand new. It's a little different than thinking about it from a resolution perspective. So stick with me on this, and I think you'll have some new items to begin to think about as you enter into 2020. So thank you to everybody who joins me always. I so appreciate you and look forward to going into the new year with you. And those of you who are new to my channel, Carolyn Zaiser, I'm a channel, I'm a distance energy healer, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor, and I offer these channels for your support during your journey. So if you're interested in joining me further, I have free content. Below in the description box, you'll see 6 tips on how to create flow in your body for health and wellness, and it'll lead you to more free content. So join me there, and thank you for joining me today. So before we get started, I want to read what the Light Keepers offered us about this topic. Here we go. Take and make a break for it, the new time in your way, but never forget what you learned yesterday. For if one never reflects on what has been, how can you expect the learnedness within to elevate you as you move into the brightness of this new time? For never forget, as it is true that it is about lifelong, we say, of things learned that make your new today. So there's the channeled message. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get going, and I'm going to talk about 7 things to take into the new year of 2020, or to consider taking into the new year. And these are in no particular order. However, the last one that I talk about, I will say, in my estimation, and I know in the Light Keepers, it's the most important thing. So, number 1, going into 2020 with no fear at all. Now, that's a huge task for a lot of us, because there's so much in our societies and sometimes our family lives and our workplace and just day to day that we could allow to overcome us and take us over. And all we do then is operate out of fear. And what fear is a human emotion that we have ultimately created for ourselves. And we have whipped it up into such a frenzy that so many of us live in this fear state that we aren't able to move forward in a flow state, in a way that allows us to actually connect in and be able to move in a way that helps us okay, so now they're showing me like just this pushing through of, okay, they're showing me somebody swimming the breaststroke. Now this is interesting. And as many of you know, I channel lots of times while I will talk about the information that I'm providing. They're showing a breaststroke, moving in the water, parting. Okay, they're saying parting the seas. Okay, so parting the seas. Now I see what they're getting at. So what this has to do with fear is setting fear aside and letting yourself be able to just be in that channel of flow. And that's what they're showing me, that kind of like the parting of the seas and just being able to move through without all those fear constructs, all the fear that's created in our society. It's now off to the side. You're not going to be doing this anymore. And here's the other thing, is it's what we put in front of us. I will use a perfect example of myself. So I had been focused on, and I've said this previously, that I used to be a news junkie, political news junkie too. I would start in the morning with my news. I would end it in the day. I would watch it all day long. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a very fearful person, but I was so whipped up into a lot of kind of anger too. So fear can turn to anger because that's our reaction to the fear. And what that would do is just amp me up further. And so what I would do is I was living day to day, constantly thinking about those things that I wanted to fight, that I feared, that I didn't want to have happen. And therefore I was living in this very human emotional state. Now, if you met me on the surface, you probably wouldn't know that, but internally, that is how I felt. So during the awakening journey, what has happened with me is, as many have happened, is news, TV, all of this is starting to be set aside. You're not watching it much anymore. I hardly ever turn on the TV other than for certain shows I want to watch, but I don't know what's going on in the world. I really don't. other than in kind of our community, spiritually, energetically, all of that. And then I can even say that sometimes I am not online other than to do my work. But the point is this has allowed me to flow into my own knowing, into my own space of non-fear, because I know that's ultimately who I am. So this is the way that I have gotten past very naturally with my higher self leading the way of what was kind of a fear state that I lived within at this level of that's kind of where I was flowing. Now, how that came out in my day to day had a lot to do with my activism. And yet I also realized that was not allowing me to experience the, oh, okay, I just took a deep breath. That's interesting. I let out some of that energy. It wasn't allowing me to, and what they're saying to me is experience grace. So that's very interesting. Not allowing me to experience grace. Oh, in my day to day, they're saying, because I was always at this other, like, elevated human level, and that's what I lived at. So I could probably make a whole video out of just this because they seem to want to really comment on this a lot. But what I would say to you is take a look at where you have fear in your life and how it has been whipped up to create something that either isn't real or is a lot more than it truly is. And one good way I would look at it is looking at how much of it have you actually experienced in your life, or is it something that you're kind of manufacturing because of what you're hearing from mass media? Now, there's all other kinds of examples I could use, but go into 2020 saying that you're going to have no fear, because often when we put it out there that we're going to do something, we will improve automatically when we have that mindset of, I'm going into 2020 with no fear. If you come to a time where you're feeling fear, don't worry about that. Feel the fear, understand it, but it's when we don't feel the fear and then try to articulate it to ourselves, and then we just let it carry us through, and that becomes our flow. That's where we start having problems, and that's where I started having problems. So that's number one. Go into 2020 feeling as though I am not going to have fear in whatever way that means for you. Okay, we're on to number two, adventure, wonder. Go into 2020 with adventure and wonder of all that is occurring for you in this ascension, in this awakening. And yes, I know we have struggles, but understand too that as we focus on the magic and the wonder of the things that are coming our way, even if it's just the numbers, and when I say just the numbers, when people are getting numbers, it can make your day. This is magic in itself that is in front of you every single day. And as you start looking at things with wonder and adventure and letting it flow to you, fear starts subsiding. There's something else out there that is helping you. The universe is in your favor. Even if you're going through some struggles, know that those magical moments, because of your wonder and your adventure and wanting to understand more, is there to help. And as you have less fear, it kind of goes hand in hand. If you have less fear, start having less fear about things, more wonder and adventure is going to come your way, because how much adventure can we really have when we have a lot of fear? We tend to be very cautious. And what I would say to you is break that mold. Go adventure. Don't be cautious any longer, particularly in this realm of spirituality. Start looking at your awakening journey as magical times, magical moments, even if you're going through tough times or physical times. Now, for example, my 2019 has been filled with almost 6 weeks of really, really difficult sicknesses. Now, I've continued to work through those illnesses, which has been very hard. However, I have still found the magic in those moments because I have seen things happen within those ill moments where I know I have been worked on to become a healthier version of myself. I know it is for the greater good of clearing things from past lives. I know that my chakras are being opened up. I know it's for good reason. When we start looking at things, even in the tough times, with more of an adventurous and wondrous view of things, so much changes. So that first one I mentioned, fear and adventure and wonder, they really do go hand in hand. So take adventure and wonder in whatever way that means for you in your awakening journey, and take that into 2020. All right, number 3, take acceptance into 2020. Well, what does that mean? Well, can it mean acceptance of a lot of things? Acceptance of yourself as to who you are, a human who is on a journey, and you're learning, and you're making missteps, and you're going backwards 2 steps, and you're going forward 1. That's the life journey. Don't beat yourself up. Accept yourself for who you are, where you are right now, and then take the things that you want and move forward in working on those things and letting flow come to you to help you with those things. And as importantly, acceptance of others and where they're at on their journey. This comes into thinking about others in what I'll then talk about in number 4 of non-judgment, but the acceptance of being able to understand that you are where you are at in your journey. Do not allow yourself to be told by others where you are supposed to be on your journey. In addition to that, as we look at others, not looking at them and wondering why they're doing what they're doing, but instead, it really takes, honestly, an open soul to be able to look at everyone and say, I accept this for what it is, for what is happening, even in the difficult times, to really dig down deep into our soul's self and understand that for whatever reason, this is for the greater good, in whatever way this may mean. Acceptance of what has happened either in your life or in the totality of the world. And not meaning you approve of the things that are happening, but acceptance that there is a greater plan in place and that a lot is breaking down right now and building back up, because things have to be broken down before they can be rebuilt. So again, looking at things with greater acceptance in the sense of, a wide variety of things. First of all, where you're at in your journey, where your next door neighbor is in their journey, where your family and friends are in their journey, and then the world events and the things that are happening that we do not fully understand. But at the ground level, it is for the greater good. It is shaking us apart in many ways. So learning to move into 2020 with a greater acceptance of, okay, this is all for purpose. It is all for good reason. It is for the greater good. Now, many of you might argue with me on that one, but I do believe it's not a Pollyanna view. It's not an ostrich sticking your head in the sand. It's about grasping the grander view of things and the understanding from a higher self perspective of what is actually happening. And you do start seeing these things and understanding them from a broader, I would say, multiverse perspective as you continue to go through this awakening journey. So take that into 2020. What does acceptance mean for you? Now that leads us into number 4, non-judgment. So this is one of the most difficult things that humans work through in their journey, is not judging others, because basically we're taught to do that. Now, I will say there is judgment that is used for your human life that is actually useful, but it's how we actually take that and apply it. We do have to discern in our life. We do have to make choices, and with that comes judgment. What we're talking about here is they just said the judgment that can be damaging, to others in their journey, and particularly when we vocalize it. They just said thoughts are things. So as we express words, and that's even more powerful than thoughts are things. We create with our thoughts, and we also create with our words, and our words have much more power than we know, and the words we choose to use. So when we start judging someone else's journey and the reason they're doing the things they're doing in their life, we don't understand their journey. We don't understand it at all. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have learned during my awakening that as I look at family and friends of who I used to wonder, why the heck are they doing that? Which I'm sure they were wondering the same thing about me. I can now look and see, because I understand from a different perspective, because I'm able to delve into past lives, why these things are happening. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are more people out there working their stuff, and it doesn't look like it. Okay, it almost is the flip side of it. A lot of the things that we would that are difficult, that we don't want to have happen for people, that choices that maybe we think shouldn't be made, they are working out their own journey and their own situations and many things that they've brought in, karmic situations, contracts. They are playing a role in a way that they are meant to play. Now, not everybody's playing their role in the way they intended, but my point in this is there are reasons for many of us moving through in a way that others would not understand, and that we don't understand their journey. So the best thing to do is set it aside. Assume you don't know anything about what is best for them, because guess what? You really don't. Now, I realize as parents and family members that can get very difficult, and there has to be guidance along the way. But the point being is, it's pretty amazing what the higher self does in the life journey. Many people who aren't even awakening, obviously, right now, they are really working their journey. It's just those of us who are awakened are seeing all this consciously in our lives. That's all unfolding consciously because we made a choice to wake up and actually experience it as we're going through it. They didn't, or at least not yet. So, taking non-judgment forward, what can you do to make that a bigger part of your day and be able to move into 2020 in a way that allows you to just let go of a lot of that? Okay, we're on to number 5, and that is a partnership. Moving into 2020, what's your partnership? With your spirit team. You know I talk a lot about your angels and your guides and your higher self, and you can add on to that. But your spirit team, it's your team of those you cannot see typically that are here to help. But remember, we have free will. We have the opportunity to make any choice we want and then follow it. So we have to ask to receive their assistance. They will help in magical ways. It will not necessarily look like you expect it to look, like a direct question and an answer. It may not look like what you expect in human form. They work in very mysterious ways, and they work over time. Things are not necessarily a direct one-to-one correspondence from what you ask for and what you will get, but you will be supported in ways that you cannot imagine. Going into 2020, if you don't already have a partnership created, it is one of the most valuable things I have found in my journey, and I've seen this with others as well after they have been told about this. Building the connection as you wake up in the morning, a friendship, a partnership like you would with anybody else, connecting in either through your thoughts, through your words in the morning. What I do, as I've told you before, I step my foot in the floor and I say good morning, or I'll still be lying in bed after my alarm goes off and I'll say, good morning, spirit team. Are you ready for today? We got a busy day ahead of us. And then I ask them, will you join me? Today's a busy day. Let's get moving. And I really pull them in as my team. I then look in the mirror. I talk to my higher self. I talk to my mind, ego. I talk to my body. Bring that all together into one. And we go off on our day. Now, it's a little more complex than that for myself because I actually do pull them in on many other things over the course of the day. And that's where you really start making this connection. So I would say to you, even if you don't speak it out loud, think in your thoughts of bringing your spirit team in, your angels, your guides, your higher self. Start with that. Or whoever else is important to you in spirit, because many of you already have connections. But make that a regular part of your day. When you need something, ask. Like, I will literally, before I do these channels, I will sit down and say, okay, guys, and that's how I talk to them. Okay, guys, we're going to do a video. This is my topic. I'm going to talk about 7 things to take into 2020. I need this to be smooth. I need the words to flow. I need you to be there to also send your messages. And now they're laughing. They're laughing. They're saying, oh, okay. So they're saying, don't forget the gratitude. And they're laughing. Okay, that's funny. And now I have chills. So here's the other part of this. And I had forgotten this part to tell you, is you always give them gratitude after you ask for something. Don't wait for it to show up in your lap. And remember, these are mystical, magical things that may happen. And you may never understand how it was actually answered for you. But don't worry about it. And don't go looking for your signs and messages on what it was you asked. Don't keep a journal of all the things you asked. But give gratitude directly after you've asked. And they will always be with you every single step of the way. And pretty soon you won't even imagine what it would be like to not have them as your team moving forward in your day. So, partnership. Take it into 2020. Begin building it, or bring it in even stronger into 2020. You'll be amazed at the magical things that will happen. So number 6 is centeredness. Take centeredness into 2020. Well, what does that mean? What that means is being in that now moment. Now, this is a process if you have not worked on being in the now moment. And basically what it's doing is not allowing the past and the future to dictate your now, which then really doesn't exist if you're living in the past and you're living in the future. What we want to be able to do is collapse that from this very broad focus of past, future, thinking, and here's your now, and it completely gets missed. We've all had those times. Often, many of us go through our entire life living here and here, past, future, and we don't even know what the day was like. We don't know what even occurred because we weren't in the now moment. We didn't experience what we're actually experiencing. How many times have you been in a situation, and now particularly with technology, it's just all over the map, that where you are in a situation and you have 10 things going on at the same time, either in your head or physically. You're not engaged in a conversation. This is a great example, I think, that someone is having with you. You're not listening. You're not listening because you're thinking about something else, or you're thumbing on your phone, or, there's 10,000 other things, or you're taking a beautiful walk. Forget that you even have your phone with you, but you are not connected into the beauty of the nature around you. Yes, peripherally you are, but you're thinking about a million other things. Wow, how neat would it be to really be in the now moment and put all that other stuff you're thinking about aside? What you're going to do tonight, what you're going to do this weekend, how you're going to get all those things done. No. Think about that beautiful tree that you've walked by. Look at it deeply. Look at the bark. Look at how it's growing. Look at the differences. Go up to it and see the intricacies of that tree. Notice the differences between each tree. Bark is all different on every single tree. Check it out. Look at the things you've missed so long. Try that on your next walk. Center yourself into the now. You're going to know once you're in the now, and you're going to know when you go out of it. And then try to bring yourself back in. Notice the next detail that comes up on your walk. What is happening with the plants? Every day you walk, is something different occurring? What's different about the situation you're in the same walk that maybe you take every day? What are the birds that are out there? Check out and see what's in the sky. Look up in the sky. Check out the clouds. Have a different experience when you're taking your walk. Those are examples of the way you can get yourself into the now moment. Not so focused on the past and the future, but living in that now moment. And again, I could talk all day long about technology, but don't take your phone, or if you do, turn it off and put it in your pocket, and don't go pull it out. And I think as we move through in this awakening journey, we start wanting to do more of that. And so that will assist you as well. But again, taking centeredness into 2020, whatever that means for you, so that you're not missing the moment that you're actually living in now. And lastly, number 7, and this is the most important one, if you do nothing else this year, it is focus on yourself first and foremost. Because what they say over and over again is you can't give to others until you give to yourself. We all fall into this trap of not giving to ourselves when we know we should. Or, and I'll give you my example, I think I do a pretty good job of this. Now, I'm on my own, so that would seem really easy to do, right? Oh, I have plenty of time to take care of myself. Well, not really. I still can get into really bad habits. And when I start looking at what those habits are, and I'm just going to use a few subtle examples that then start eating away at me, and I notice, oh my God, I'm falling back into those habits of non-self-care. A very small example, but for me, it's a big one. I take a handful of different kinds of supplements each day. But guess what? I get super lazy, and I don't fill up I use a little pill thing. I don't fill up my vitamins on a regular basis. When they run out, I may go 3 or 4 days not take them. That's an important part of my process that I've created for myself. And then I realize, oh, I'm not thinking I'm important enough because I don't have time to do it, or I don't want to do it. I don't want to take the time for myself. We do this, even in the littlest things. And then when you start breaking down the little things and you're not doing those anymore, then the big things start falling into place. And pretty soon, honestly, before you know it, things can really go south with yourself. It's so easy to do. So here's another thing. I gained 30 pounds in my early awakening. In the last 3 months, I've taken off. I guess I'm now at 22. Okay. Well, that's great, right? But I had let myself, I ignored it. I had put the blinders up as to how I was eating. I just blamed it on the ascension. That's exactly what I did. My mind said, oh, Carolyn, it's not you. You're eating fine. You can do whatever you want. It's the ascension. Nope, it wasn't. I mean, yes, it was a contributing factor and there was purpose in much of it, but not for the amount of time I had it on. My eating habits had taken a horrific turn. So that all switched quickly, and that's a whole higher self story of how that happened at the end of September. And since then, I've been on this journey of weight loss and cooking for myself again and reclaiming what had been a beautiful process for myself for years of eating very, very healthy. And so these things gradually can fall apart in our lives because we don't put ourselves first. All right. There's a gazillion other examples I could use of how during the awakening I have fallen off the wagon of taking care of myself. And then I'm like, it's kind of like there's a part of me, I just start not feeling well anymore. And I think we're even more sensitive during the awakening. So you're going to really want to watch this. Taking into 2020, self-care. Taking into 2020, space for yourself, time for yourself. You can do this. I don't care how many family members you have itching for your time. It's time for you, and they need to understand that you need space. Build it in. What can you choose not to do in your day that you currently do that is overwhelming you? A lot of it is work for many people. Do you really have to work all those hours? Oh my, I used to be a workaholic and I would work constantly. I would find myself not taking care of myself and I was working. Many of us fall into that trap. But the awakening will not allow this because you're going to feel worse and worse because you're moving into more high vibration ways. Your higher self is looking for balance in your life and that self-care. So taking into 2020, what are the things, even if it's one thing, this is the most important thing, self-care and space for yourself. What one thing can you do differently every single day to make yourself the most important? Because then, as we all love to do typically, is give to others in some way. You'll be able to give more to others, but you will be maintaining your super high vibration that you're gaining during this awakening and not becoming a shadow of your former self, because the awakening will require this of you. It will shake you until you start caring for yourself, because this is such a powerful part of the awakening that then allows all the other magic to take place. So with that today, those are 7 things to consider taking into 2020. And they're not resolutions. You can call them what you want, but I like to look at them as commitments to ourselves. What are things we'll take into 2020 that really are centered in this awakening journey, that can assist us forward and that can make us have even a more beautiful experience than we already have? Because 2020 is a powerful year for us in whatever way that turns out to be for each of us. So I wish you well. And again, as I will always remind you, visit purplerainhealing.com, my website where I list all of my services. I would absolutely love to work with you in the new year, launching you forward in your awakening journey, allowing you to move forward in a fashion that gives you more information through my channeled messages, my distance energy healing, and my spiritual awakening mentoring, where I one-on-one work with you and channel information. So with that, I wish you the best of New Year's, and I will see you in the next video.